Happy April, our SOS family. This is my newsletter coming to you today in video format. Something new. Gonna try this out and want to touch on a couple things today. Be pretty quick, but there's some things I wanted to share on the screen, so that's why I chose to do video. First and foremost, something that came to mind a couple weeks ago was, do you own your data? And to put this in perspective, think about your home. If you own a home, do you actually own your home? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Your name might be on the deed, might be on the mortgage, but what if you stop paying the mortgage? Who really owns it? I mean, yes, you still own it, but the bank will repossess it and it's no longer yours. So what about your data? So much we do now is in the cloud. It's in the cloud, it must be fine, it must be good, but the cloud isn't up in the sky. The cloud is in data centers across the world. The cloud is nothing but computers, servers that are storing data. The data centers have to be doing backups, right? So how do we know if backups are being performed on your data that is in the cloud? We just don't know a lot of these things, and that's why when we do our technology reviews with our customers, we look at your industry-specific software that is in the cloud, and oftentimes we'll make a point to say, okay, we need to look into this vendor and we need to make sure that your data is being backed up. And how is it being backed up? Can it be proven? Beyond that, we live in a world of Microsoft and Google. And I'm going to pick on Microsoft first because Microsoft 365 is the world's most popular ecosystem of cloud. And that's where our email is, that's where SharePoint, Teams, OneDrive, all these services. In fact, Microsoft 365 has over 100 different products and services. And addressing that here, it took me a while to find this, but I was able to find the Microsoft licensing terms. And what you see here, this is going to apply to Google, Apple, NetSuite, Oracle, just all the big names. Meta, which is owns Facebook and Instagram, right? So here's our Microsoft terms. You could read this in about 10 minutes. It's not too bad. But down at the bottom, it'll say here that, oh, by the way, there's these other terms that are applicable too. So going here, we have our privacy statement, and last updated in February of 23. We can even click on what's new. How fun. And this one is a bit longer. I imagine nobody has read this. Every time you install software, no matter what software it is, no matter what manufacturer it is, what supplier, when you go to install that software, you are clicking a link at the very beginning that says you agree. You agree to these terms. And who actually reads these terms? So here is the other part here, and this is more closer to what I'm talking about, the end user license agreement, or EULA. This one is much longer, much longer. You could spend about 5 hours and review this and still not understand it. But from here, what I wanted to do was go in and I searched for the word liable. And this is the one right here. When we're having consultations with customers, we talk about the fact that Microsoft, Google, Apple, all the big names, when you accept to use their software, you are promising to not hold them liable for if they lose your data. In fact, it says right here, we strive to keep services up and running. However, all online services suffer occasional disruptions and outages, and Microsoft is not liable for any disruption or loss you may suffer as a result. So how do you protect your cloud data? Looking at this, in the case of Microsoft and Google, one of the biggest growing services is called SaaS protection. So anything in the cloud is SaaS, or software as a service. Microsoft Cloud can be backed up through what's called SaaS protection services. That is a service that we have with, I'd say, over half of our clients. It's very inexpensive, and there's tons of other benefits of it too. For example, if your email, your Office 365 account were to get hacked and it was being held ransom, instead of paying that ransom, you can restore your information from the SaaS protections backup. This is a third party, it's a cloud-to-cloud backup. It's happening 3 times a day, and it's a snapshot. So it's kind of an identical snapshot. So that's one thing that it can do, but it can also benefit you with peace of mind knowing that if Microsoft has an outage or Google has an outage, that your information is being backed up somewhere. So that's that. Next, there is something, we'll touch on this more at a future video or newsletter, but the Joe Biden administration has the National Cybersecurity Strategy, and there's a lot that goes into here that's affecting IT. But the big takeaway from this that I have is 20 years ago, IT was a commodity. Like, you need somebody to call to fix your computer. Now it's no longer a commodity, it's now essential. Lots more go into it, lots of things to protect your data, to protect your security, to help you be more efficient, productive. And the big thing about this that is really eye-opening is what happened with the COVID pandemic. It has been said that the COVID pandemic has accelerated IT security in a matter of about 9 months, 10 years. So, in other words, because of the pandemic and because of everything that happened in the cyber security and the cyber world, the advancements in phishing, in ransomware, all that was accelerated by 10 years in about 9 months, which is just unfathomable to think about. So that is why when we're doing our IT audits with our customers, we are really focusing on risk assessments. You know, what are we concerned about? What do we need to be looking at? And one of those things is also cyber insurance. And cyber insurance is under attack right now. It has been for a while. Cyber insurance is the only insurance vertical that lost money last year. I think they lost money the last 2 years from what I've read. And the cyber insurance, their carriers are starting to really be stringent on paying out claims, and they're handing down liability, not just down to the customer saying, did you do this, did you do this, did you do this, did you do this, but they're going beyond that and even going to the customer's IT provider, which is us. And that's kind of what this article is here, you know, and how the White House's new national cybersecurity strategy impacts MSPs, or managed service providers, which that's what our company is. I find that a bit fascinating. So what are we doing? We are crossing our T's, dotting our I's. We are doing everything we have to do to be 150% compliant. In fact, we were told by a compliancy group that we are probably 150% compliant. We might just be missing some documentation. So that's what we're working on right now. And if you're in medical, you need HIPAA documentation. You have to be updating that every year. And there's all sorts of different, the compliancy tools that we use are evaluating between 12 to 18 different compliancy sets. HIPAA, CMMC, NIST, CIS, just to name a few. And the last thing to touch on today in this little video is multi-factor authentication. And there's a cool little demo. I've got about a dozen customers on this one. But imagine if you have a disgruntled employee and they have access to your server. And the server, they know the password, maybe they're an executive assistant or a manager, and one super important thing is locking that server down the right way. The demo here is a Microsoft 365 portal login. So this is actually a SaaS login, if you will. But we go here, we go click, next, put in our password, and then it's saying, hey, we're not going to let you log in even though you know the password until you go to your mobile phone and you authenticate. And you say, I approve. You can deny, you can approve. It's saying, where are you from? What time is it? I approve this. Oh, by the way, just to make life easier for the next little bit, we can trust this browser. Done, and you're logged in. So this demo is in the cloud, Microsoft 365 type scenario, but the one I'm talking about more, and I was trying to find this in a demo, but I couldn't right off the top, but every one of our computers here at our office, we cannot log into these computers without, and I'm talking, you push the power button, it boots up, and you have the login screen. And then you put the password in, and then we cannot log in without authenticating to our phone. In other words, we get a prompt on our phone saying, do we approve ourselves to log into this computer? Why is that important? Well, number one, we have to because we're an IT company. Number two, this should be on all of your servers. You know, you might have third parties that are your vendors. That might have access to your servers, and you know, and you want that. You want them to have access. You want them to support you when you have an issue with your software. But do you want them to be able to log in 24/7 anytime? You know, that third party, they might have 1,000 employees, and maybe 800 of them are on the tech support team, right? A big, huge global company. And they all have access to your server one way or another. Even if you have a firewall in place, you know, they might have TeamViewer on there. They might have, you know, Log Me In, or, you know, these other things that kind of just are approved software. And that's where the other things that I've talked about in other newsletters comes in. That's zero trust. You know, it's like we're gonna not allow anything except what we approve. You know, that's a whole separate topic. We won't get into that right now. So just to kind of recap here, for April, your data in the cloud, is it being backed up? If it's Google email, the paid business Google email called Workplace, it used to be called G Suite, before that was called Google Apps, or Microsoft 365. And it's important to know that that information is being backed up, and then your line of business applications, the vendors that you use. Do you have evidence, proof? Is it in writing that they are backing up your information, and how? And what is the the response time on if there is an outage. Like those are the kind of things that you want to ask yourself. So, and then lastly, cyber insurance. It's a big deal. It's a big topic. It's changing the world, the IT world right now in not necessarily all the right ways. It's making life more difficult for us and our customers. It's making the cost of doing business greater, but the good news is if you do all the right things to secure your environment, then you will be qualified for the lowest cyber insurance rates. And we can help with that. We can't help with cyber insurance, but we can help make sure you get the best rates. In fact, the company that we use, they will only insure, they only work with IT companies like us, and they insure us. And beyond us, they will insure our customers because they know that we're doing everything we need to do, then we can do everything you need as well. Yes, that does cost more money because there might be more services that you have to have, but maybe the amount of money you save on insurance would be worth the extra cost, and let alone the increased security, productivity, efficiency. So appreciate the time that I've had to be able to share these thoughts with you for April. Feel free to share this with a friend, anybody that might be here in this area that is a manager, a business owner, an executive assistant, receptionist, anybody that needs, that you hear about that they're having pain points in their business IT. We are always looking for great companies to work with, and we consider ourselves a partner. We are an extension of your company. So whatever we can do to help you, please reach out. Thank you.